welcome to another exciting episode of Bearing It All. My name is Ugochi and I'm excited to be your host. So today I have with me someone very special. Yes, she's my friend, my sister. She's amazing. She's kind, too kind sometimes, but I love her. Please help me welcome Mrs. Florence Igboayaka. This is the first time I'll be calling you Mrs. Florence Igboayaka, and that's because I call her Chini. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. I'm really honored to be on this show, Bearing It All. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here. And by the way, you look amazing.
Oh,
you know, I tell you all the time, I love the dress, I love the look, I love everything.
I'm blushing.
It's okay, but you look amazing. And welcome.
You too,
thank you. At least I get to do some. Anyway, we'll take this outside of this and we'll talk about it later. But welcome and be comfortable, okay?
Okay, thank you.
So tell us, Florence, tell us a little about yourself.
Okay, Florence Igboayaka. I'm a wife, a mom to many children, and I'm married, of course, to an amazing man. His name is Solomon Obim, actually. That's what I call him. So yes, that's who I am in a nutshell. Well, yeah. And I live in Aberdeen, yeah.
Okay, she lives in Aberdeen. So tell us what you do, Florence.
It's a tough one, but I like to just encapsulate everything I do by saying I'm a social entrepreneur. And that is because I'm empowered to create wealth and use that wealth to make a difference in terms of social work. So around that, I have different businesses. So a lot of people ask me, who is a social entrepreneur? So it's basically someone who is an entrepreneur. You do business, but part of what you do is to make a social kind of impact or a difference. So I run different businesses, and I also own a charity. So one of the businesses, I run a consulting outfit, and I tell people that one of my mantras in life is to help people discover their potential, unleash their potential, and profit from it. So I believe in profiting from your potential, you know what I mean? I do all of that. And so in different areas of my business, I actually ensure that whatever I do must be kind of solving a problem, addressing an issue, and making impact. So I do this in different areas, my charity and my different businesses.
Okay, I'm just I know you do a lot, and I know you're not expecting this one.
Oh my God.
I've heard a lot of people, I don't want to say I've joined the people, but I've heard a lot of people call you book coach. Do you want to talk about that?
Oh my God. Okay, well, that is interesting because that's something that's just started happening recently. And I stumbled into it. It was not planned. I remember about almost 2 years ago, actually, in one of my businesses, which is around periods and producing period products. And one of the things I do with a particular business also is support girls who are suffering period poverty. And I was doing that in Nigeria anyways. So, and I now I kind of produce my own product. And in the course of it all, I've been doing a lot around that area, research and stuff, you know. And then almost 2 years ago, I got this nudging in my spirit. I knew it was God asking me to write a book. And I was like, a book? Me? How? Impossible. I don't even know how to write. But prior to that time, I had been writing some inspirational stuff on social media every Tuesday called Inspiration Tuesday. And different people would reach out to me and say, wow, this is amazing. It's motivating. Why don't you put this into a collection? Probably make it a book. And I was like, I can't write, you know? So when the thought came to me to put this stuff into a book, and again, it was based on my experience of working with girls and my own experience around the period space and I found out that a lot of girls are still struggling in terms of period education, and had found myself working with some of my charity to go in and speak to girls around periods, help them, educate them, create awareness. So when that thought came to convert some of that into a book, I was like, how am I going to do that, But eventually I decided to obey, and I started writing. But I thought to myself, it would be best to put in a format that girls will enjoy, as against the typical text and all that. So I came up with a character plan, and I decided to write it into a comic. So it had to be an illustrated book. So that was how my first book came about, the period comic. When I finished that and I launched it, and a lot of people heard about it, and they were like, wow, how did you do this? People started approaching me like, you did this, wow, teach us how and how, So I continued just helping, advising people the little way I knew how to. And then eventually, when the lockdown started in March, I think early April, I'd helped like 2 people launch their books as well. So whilst I was just having a session, I finished a session with one of the ladies, and the Holy Spirit just dropped in my heart. Why don't you convert all of this knowledge, your pitfalls, what you've learned in the process of writing, into a book, so that you can reach more people rather than spending hours just advising one person. So I wrote my second book, write that book already. And the whole idea was to help people go from no writing abilities or skills, if you will call it, to writing, publishing, and then, selling, which is what I had learned. So I tested it, and in 2 weeks, I wrote my book, and in a month, I was published and I was selling. I said, okay, this has worked. Let me test it with my next guinea pig. Don't tell him I said that, my husband. so I was like, okay.
I would tell him.
I was like,
but I'm sure he will watch this.
So I was like, okay, if he can do it, then anybody else can, because it's okay to do something yourself, but you need to test it to be sure it's repeatable. And so my husband did. He wrote his book, well, with a lot of effort and pushing though. Eventually, he wrote his book within the time frame as well. I was like, wow, this. I then had the boldness to say, okay, let me then help more people. And before you knew it, it dovetailed into something. One thing led to another. I started a program called the 30-Day Book Challenge. A lot of people started enrolling. I'm just blown away. And so my life now is every weekend I'm sitting in book launches, and people are launching books, and they've gone through this process. So that's how the book coach came about. So they started calling me the book coach.
The book coach.
Yeah.
Can you tell us, I know, I'm not sure if you're allowed to say, but can you tell us how many people you've been able to help to write their own book?
Well, in 3 months, currently enrolled. Yeah, because I started end of May. Yeah, that was when I got the first person to enroll. I have about 35 people in 3 months on the program. And we've actually evolved, because right now we're also helping people with our book writing service. So these are the ones I'm mentioning are people that are on the challenge, but they're also people we've helped to write their books, because of course we know people are very busy. They might not be able to find that time to sit. So there's a process with which you work with people to get them to be able to publish, especially if that book has to support your business. And so we also do that, and we have people outside of the 35 that I have in the challenge.
Okay, thank you for speaking to us about that. You also mentioned that you have a charity. Okay, if I would use the word foundation, do you want to tell us a little about that foundation and what it is called?
Well, I started the charity called Fortune's Dynamics Foundation. I started about 7 years ago in Nigeria. And that was my vow to God, because like I said, I'm a social entrepreneur. When you're empowered to create wealth, a percentage of that, I said I was going to use it to impact lives. So that was how Fortune's Dynamics Foundation started, when I started a few years after I started my business at the time. So yeah, that's what it's called. The focus is to help. Our main goal is to support orphans, underserved communities, children who otherwise won't be able to, their carers or parents can send to school. So it's threefold. We do regular education, we do the social one, and we also do spiritual. So we make sure they have an all-rounded kind of support. So that's what we do with the foundation. And secondly, we support widows as well. We try to help widows with their home makeover. And then lastly, we work with missionaries. There are some missions we work with in Nigeria who go to the field, so we support them monthly. And then we also produce Bibles that they help to share in the mission fields to new converts.
Good. So I believe some of these stories and some of the things you've mentioned inspired you opening up the foundation. You talked about the widows, the children, and all that. Is there any particular one, that made you say to yourself, you know what, I'm just going to go on, open up this foundation? Is there any particular story that kind of just got to you?
To me, well, there's so many, to be honest. I didn't even realize, when I think of some of the impact, it just brings tears to my eyes. But it started with, having members of staff in the office, security guards, you have maybe the cleaner, and you find that they're struggling. And at the time I was like, okay. I took on, like, the driver in the office took on the kids to sponsor their education. And before you knew it, I now got some team members to say, okay, why don't we go into some of those communities, where people are really struggling to see. So we started speaking with orphanages, we started speaking with chiefs, heads of communities. And before you knew it, it just blew my mind, because what we try to do is every year we take on more kids. So there's a criteria that we use to check what kind of children we want to take on. You really have to be struggling, and maybe children that have dropped out of school. And then when we started, we found that the demand was so much. We couldn't even take on as many people as we wanted, because there were so many people that were struggling. And
So how did it feel, when, because you said there were a lot of people that, you needed to take on, but because of the many challenges, you couldn't take some of them in. How did you feel, with not being able to take on those?
You just wish you could do more. You wish you could do more, but again, to be sustainable, you want to be able to take, because we started with primary school and then secondary school. So you want to be able to ensure that whichever kid you pick up, you now know that you have maybe a 7-year plan with that child. So you need to be able to run through the whole process. So it felt bad, and I don't know, but you just have to keep going and trust God that you can do more.
Yeah. So tell us, how is the foundation funded?
Interesting. Well, it's just funded by my business, basically. We don't have any external funders. I think it was 2016, I decided to have a one-off support, and that was a Christmas time. I got our kids to make Christmas wishes of what they wanted, so I then opened it up to allow people to buy a gift for a child. So that was about the only time, but funded by the business solely.
And is that a decision you took just to, you just want your business to support the foundation?
Well, like I said, it was a vow I made with God. That's one. Secondly, when there are a lot of people who run charities, and sometimes when the reasons are not quite clear, the public might not understand. So they just lump everybody up into assuming you're all the same. So I figured the best way to do it was to start something yourself and allow it grow. Set the foundations right. Because if you are not clear as to what you want to do with your foundation, and then you go seeking for support, people will make suggestions on how to run it. Like, one of the things we have, a clause in what we do, is whichever child we take on, the caregiver must sign an agreement allowing us to introduce Jesus Christ to the child. So imagine if I have funders who don't have same values as me, then they will want to influence what we do. So for me, I thought it was best to go with doing it ourselves, and I work based on instruction. If I feel led to bring in people at the time when we're really solid and nobody can influence our values negatively, then sure, probably we'll open it up.
Okay, good enough. So what do you hope to achieve with the foundation now and in the future?
Oh my gosh. Well, if you know, I mentioned sustainability initially. For me, it's about sustainability. And the whole idea is not really what I want to achieve. What I would love to see happen is to have more children come on. I would love to start the university support, train kids through that phase, because we've had kids who've finished secondary school. I remember recently somebody reached out to me on Facebook. I didn't even know him, and he was intrigued. Man, you are the one that paid for my. I was like, oh really? You know, and now they're following me, and you know. So I wish I could take it to the next level, which is what we're hoping to do, to get it to the university level, and I'm trusting God will be able to do that. And so being able to reach more people, being able to say, oh, we're funding 300 kids, we're happy. Wow, that would be. You know, because you never know where these kids are going to end up. You never know whose life you're impacting. You never know who you're giving. You know, it's like I tell people, as a social entrepreneur, it's a bit different from charity, because you teach people how to fish. You're not only giving them fish. So this is like teaching that person, investing in their life for tomorrow. Yeah,
I agree with you. So how did you feel when you got that note from that young boy saying, oh, you founded my school?
I was... Oh, you just don't know. It's the thing is, a lot of people, well, in Nigeria, of course, they don't know who I am. They meet with the team. So I remember going for one of the Christmas parties we had for them, and that was the first time a lot of them were meeting me, and I was just overwhelmed with the show of love, you know, the way they were so grateful. So it does something. It's like, God, I'm so privileged. You know, you don't know what people are going through. You just begin to appreciate where you are, even the things you used to complain about. Because sometimes when I travel and I have to go to some of those places and meet, I'm like, God, I come back and I repent for grumbling about my life, you know. So it just gives you a different perspective, and yeah.
Amazing. You know, I hear a lot of people talk about, I want to start a foundation, I want to own a foundation, I want to do something, and all that. What are some of the things, you know, people should consider before they go into starting up a foundation?
I would say it's a good thing. First of all, helping, making impact, making a difference is a good thing. But before you go onto it, you must think through. I know it's a journey of faith, but you must know your why. Never start anything without understanding why you're doing it. Because when the storms come, if you're not clear as to why you're doing it, you will give up. It's going to be challenging. Well, I don't know how everybody sources for funds, you know, but if it's something you're going all out, you might not get the kind of support you think you're going to get. So you have to prepare your mind to say, regardless of what it is, I'm going to do this. So your why has to be clear. And that has to be really good. If you're doing it for the wrong reasons, it's not going to last. So you need to be clear about that from the onset.
I just love that one. Never start anything without knowing your why. I love that one. It's amazing. I think I'm going to think very deep about that one. So, but don't just rush to start anything without knowing your reasons, without knowing why you are even starting it in the first place. Thank you. Okay. Now to my final question. Well, not really my final question, but this one, I want to get it right. So I have said to myself before now that I'm going to read it the way I've written it down here. So please allow me to read from here, because I want to get it right. So from the experiences you've had, okay, Florence, do you have any advice for people who are unaware of the gap foundations like yours seek to bridge?
Well, different organizations, of course, have gaps that they focus on, that they want to bridge, and creating awareness around what you do help people to know what you do really. So What do I want to say to people like that? Be observant of your environment, of people around you, because sometimes, especially in a world like this, we can get so involved in me, myself, my family, my friends. Just look beyond you. You'll see that there are a lot of people crying out for help in your neighborhood, and you can help somebody. Really, you can. And you don't know, sometimes what you think is a lot or what you don't even value means so much to somebody else. You know, you might say, oh, this drink is maybe just £5, but that £5
means a lot.
A family may feed on that £5. So it's just look around you and to see how you can be of help to others, really.
And do you think we're doing great with that? You know, looking around and, you know, making sure that the people around us are okay?
It's not easy, to be honest. Sometimes the issues of life, like we say, gets to overwhelm you. And it's not like people don't want to notice, but sometimes you get so engrossed in what is happening and you forget. So it's just good to keep your eyes open, to ask around. Sometimes I remember when I was running a campaign and I was talking about in December last year, and I was talking, I think I shared it on LinkedIn or something, around how to support those suffering period poverty. And some women in England reached out and said, how do we do this? I said, you might find food banks around your neighborhood and you might contribute. They were like, wow, we never knew that. But these things are realities. People are suffering period poverty even here, which is why one of the community interest companies I'm setting up now here in the UK is to support the campaign against period poverty and to help people who are struggling. So yeah, you just have to look around. You can be able to support there are a lot of areas we can do these things, but we need to keep our eyes open and our ears to the ground, really.
Yeah, I'm picking one word from, you know, everything you've said, support. And I also believe that's what you're doing with your book, the period comic. Yes.
I really get excited about that one because I've seen the impact and it blows my mind. Like, you know, you start something small, you don't know how much impact it's going to have. And I remember even in April, when the lockdown started, I put the period comic for free reads on Amazon just to help people, since it was difficult for a lot of parents sitting at home. And like I keep saying, periods is not moved by pandemic. It's not influenced, this will still happen. So what do you do? So, and then in the first month, we had almost 15,000 of our pages read globally. I was like, whoa. And that hasn't stopped. It's still on free reads. And every month, on the average, we have 14,000 of it being read. So it's in little things. It doesn't have to be anything out of the way. You know, someone might sit down and say, oh, now maybe I need to go and start a charity. Or no, you can connect. And again, there are things you're passionate about. There are things you have a soft spot towards. Find charities like that and support the cause. And of course, you have to look through their values and make sure it aligns with yours. And then, you can support them.
So, Chini, sorry, I'm not used to Florence, and I'm thinking, okay. So, Chini, sorry guys, it's a place of honest conversation. I would normally not call her Florence, so allow me to just be myself and say, Chini.
It's okay.
Sorry. So, Chini, you're in the second series of the book, the period comic, right? You're writing the second volume of that book. Tell us a little about it.
Okay, so when I wrote the first book, the period comic, the first one, there was like a cliffhanger, so which meant I had to continue. So it's a series actually.
Okay.
So the second one is ready, and there is a journal. It's actually gratitude, positive affirmation, and period journal. So that's 2 books actually that we're about to release in the next few weeks. So we're working on it. And I've tagged the campaign Limitless. That's a whole it's a whole story around that. So so that is coming out in a couple of weeks actually. We're starting the pre-orders in about 2 weeks time. For it.
Good. I can sit here and talk to you the whole day.
I know.
I know, but Thank you so much for coming. And by
Thank
the way,
you.
my niece is excited about the period coming.
Aww.
I just sent hers to her a few days ago,
Wow.
and she's just happy. She told me, Auntie, you got the author to sign it for me. She was over the moon. Thank you so much for everything that you're doing with the charity, with the book as well. Thank you so much. Well, for those of you who don't know, Chini is amazing. You know, sometimes we fight because she's too amazing. Don't worry about it. Chini, just before you go, thank you so much for coming. Just before you go, we just want to say thank you so much for coming.
Aww.
This is just a little gift from all of us.
Thank you.
Just to say thank you so much.
Thank you.
Lolo Igboayaka, the book coach. I almost got them to do the book coach for you, but because I know you're coming back to the show very soon, I decided to go with this one. Lolo Igboayaka. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for coming.
Can I give you a hug?
Oh, yes. You have my lipstick now.
That's okay.
So this is what happens when your own sister is on the show. You know, but thank you so much for coming. You know I love you.
I
way
love
back.
You too.
Thank you so much. And thank you guys for watching. Remember, it is Bearing It All, a place for honest conversation. See you some other time, and bye for now. Bye.